Okay, guys, day by day, we are getting closer. Day by day, we are getting closer to that 1,000 subscriber mark. So I need to thank everybody who's been dropping likes on videos. I need to thank everybody who's been leaving comments, subscribing to the channel. It really, really helps us out. And yeah, I'm just excited that we are continuing to grow the flock. And I'm excited that people are continuing to join our fantasy baseball group chat that I've been leaving down in the comment section below. I've been leaving it out in the live premiere chat as well, if you're able to make it out for the live premiere. So if you haven't subscribed to the channel, if you haven't joined our fantasy baseball group chat, make sure you do that right now. And really, guys, I want to get that fantasy baseball group chat going. I mean, it's completely free. You don't need an email. You don't need a credit card. You don't need anything. So there's no reason for you not to join. You can go in there, tell me, tell some other people how stupid we are and how we don't know how to play fantasy baseball. It'll be a great time. So please go join. And yeah. Now, what we are going to be doing in this video is we are going to be going over some buy low hitters. A couple of these players we've talked about before, but their seasons up to date have still been extremely disappointing. So yeah, let's jump right into it. All right, so our first player we are going to be talking about has had an abysmal 2021 so far. It's going to be Ozzie Albies, who was being drafted as the top second baseman in fantasy baseball coming into the season. He was being drafted around that early third round. Maybe you were reaching on him in the late second. Regardless of wherever you took him, if you have him on your team right now, I think you definitely need to be holding with how his value has fallen. And if you don't have him, maybe you reach out, see if the owner of Ozzie doesn't really know what he's doing. Maybe he doesn't understand how fantasy baseball sample sizes work and he's willing to trade him away on the cheap just because he's been in a little bit of a slow start. But anyway, only 24 years old, so that is going to be something we want to point out. So we don't have a very long track record in the majors of Ozzie's production and what we should expect the baseline to be. We have some solid numbers, especially in 2019 when he had a full season, over 600 at-bats. Of course, we're going to jump into that. But playing for Atlanta, and I want to point out the fact that he's batting behind Ronald Acuna. So, of course, that is going to be something that you want to see. You want to make sure that you are going to have that player ahead of him consistently getting on base. That way he does have the opportunity to generate RBIs. So that's something you love to see. Playing in the Braves lineup, I'm going to be expecting the Braves to continue to get better as the season goes on, just because this is a team that if you look through the lineup, of course, they have the top end talent and possibly one of the best players in baseball right now. But they also have some intriguing hitters throughout that the Braves shouldn't be like the Pirates. They shouldn't be like the Giants. They're not going to be one of those worst teams in the majors. Now, what I really want to focus here with Ozzie is going to be that 2019 season that we had already talked about. And I know the majority of y'all are tired of me saying this by now, but 2019 is going to be the best season we can look at here, because 2019, not only is it going to be the largest sample, but it's also in a season where everything was relatively normal. And in that 2019 season, at 22 years old, okay, so keep that in mind. He shouldn't stop developing at the time he's 22. This should not be his peak. He has 640 at-bats, so the biggest sample size you could ever see. He has a 295 average, a 352 on-base percentage, a 500 slugging, and 15 stolen bases. So, of course, 15 stolen bases, you hear that, you get excited, but you have to keep in mind the at-bats are so high that really you would expect that number to be more so around 13. Regardless, he's going to give you some stolen bases. He is going to be consistently getting on base with the opportunity to score. He has a decent slugging at 22 years old. We know slugging is going to be something you expect to progress as his career goes on. And the average already at 295, you were completely fine with that. Now in 2020, he did take a step back, but like I've said so many times before, guys, these 2020 sample sizes, they are small. These 2020 sample sizes also have a ton of variance in them just because the crazy season that was 2020. He only had 118 at-bats. The average on-base percentage, slugging, it all dipped. I mean, the average was down at 271, on-base 306, and slugging at 466. But I just want to call this season a wash. I mean, I don't want to focus in on it at all when literally it's less than 20% of the sample size that we have from 2019. I think maybe you should count this as 20% as valuable as 2019. Literally just not in the same ballpark. And talking about small sample sizes, we move to 2021, where he has had an abysmal start. I mean, 65 plate appearances, a batting average slightly under 150, an on-base percentage slightly under 270, and a slugging down there at 333. So with Ozzie, I just want you to go out and see if the owner is going to be panicking, because if he pulls up his player card and he sees, hey, 2020 was pretty bad as well, and he decides to ignore the at-bats that go into this, ignore the fact that you literally have half the at-bats from 2020 and 2021 combined that we saw in 2019. So that 2019 season is going to be so much more useful to go off of, not to mention that he was only 22 years old in that 2019 season. So you naturally expect him to get a little bit better. So please, guys, go out there and leave a comment. Let me know in the Fantasy Baseball group chat if y'all are able to go out there and successfully trade for him, because I am genuinely interested. All right, so now let's bring up another player that has had a very tough start to 2021. This is going to be Yoan Moncada, who was being drafted later on in drafts. He's being drafted around the 8th round. Third baseman for the Chicago White Sox, another team that the White Sox should have a damn good lineup, a better lineup than the Braves, honestly, quite easily, and another player that is pretty young. He's only 25 years old, so it's not like you're going to have a couple thousand at-bats that we can go off from Yoan Moncada, but in 2019, we do have that large sample. In 2019, you have 511 at-bats. He gets you 10 stolen bases, so you're not going to be expecting a 0 in that category. A batting average over 310, an on-base percentage at 367, a slugging at 548. So you love to see the average, you love to see the slugging, but more importantly, you love to see the fact that he's batting for the Chicago White Sox. He's going to have an easy time finding those at-bats. He's going to have way more opportunities to generate RBIs and to actually score when he gets on base compared to some other players in the majors. But we go to 2020, and just like Ozzie, I mean, he sees the dip. In only 200 at-bats, you see the dip down to a 225 average, a 320 on-base percentage, and a 385 slugging. So obviously, those aren't ideal numbers. You would rather see him maintain those 2019 numbers, but 200 at-bats versus 511, a season that really was extremely weird versus a season that was completely normal. I think you're going to go with that 2019 sample and who you expect him to be. And no, he has not been anything close to that in 2021. I mean, he has gotten up to 71 plate appearances, a 200 average, a 310 on base percentage, and a very poor slugging. I literally don't even want to bring it up. It's kind of embarrassing. But here with Moncada, I think that you go out and yes, he's in a little bit of a slump, but I think that he is willing to, you should be willing to go out there and take the risk, just knowing that this is a hitter that we've seen be a lot better than this at 23 years old, and he's playing in what should be one of the best lineups in baseball. All right, so now let's get a player up here that we told you all to avoid coming into the season. I brought on Michael, and we know that Michael knows significantly more than I do, and he said that he was his number one draft day avoid. This was Cody Bellinger, who right now, of course, is not playing. He has a small fracture in his left leg, but the injury is not nearly as severe as it was initially seen to be. And there are a couple reasons we're going to be looking to trade for him here. Now, of course, you were expecting this to be a player that was dealing with these nagging injuries coming into the year. Now, who's to say if this is exactly what we are expecting? But what we do know is we know when Bellinger is going to be healthy, he is going to be in arguably the best lineup in baseball. Right now, Dodgers are number 3 in the league in OPS, and that's without Bellinger. So I think that you can say that that number should go up. Maybe this is going to be the number 1 team, number 2 team in OPS. And Cody Bellinger was going very high in fantasy baseball drafts this past year. I mean, he was going at the end of the second round. Now, there's a clear reason why this was happening, and it's because that 2019 season, 558 at-bats, a 305 average, a 406 on-base percentage, a 629 slugging, and he was number 3 in baseball in OPS, only behind Mike Trout and Christian Yelich. So throw this in the fact that he's not playing on the Angels. He's not playing on the Brewers. He's playing in the best lineup in baseball. So with this type of talent, if he is slotted into that lineup and you expect anything close to this, I mean, the numbers are going to be through the roof. You could make the argument that on a per game basis, he could be the most valuable player in fantasy baseball. Now in 2020, we saw the dip, obviously 213 at-bats, 239 average, a 333 on base percentage, a 455 slugging. And in 2021, whenever he has played, he's been very bad. 19 at-bats, a 211 average, a 286 on base percentage, and a 368 slugging. But you can kind of pull a couple things here by going out and sending an offer for Cody Bellinger. And that's if they decide to pull up his stats for 2021 and 2019, despite however small the sample sizes may be, you could expect that those low averages, the low slugging, would throw them off of the type of player that Cody Bellinger actually is. And also, of course, you have to worry about injuries here, so you're going to get that second discount. Now, thank you guys. I really hope y'all enjoyed this video. I really hope y'all got something from it. Of course, go down there, drop a like, leave a comment, subscribe to the channel. It helps us out a ton, and I will see y'all with the video tomorrow.